Artificial intelligence is everywhere right now, and every day you probably wake up to even more AI news. How can there be so much new stuff? Well, there is. And for business owners today in the cleaning and restoration industry, the real question may not be about which tools to choose from. It should be, perhaps, how to adapt, stay relevant, and continue to grow in a rapidly changing environment. So today's conversation focuses on a powerful idea. The future isn't just about technology, it's about people, specifically the human skills that will matter even more as AI becomes part of everyday business. And to dig into this, I'm joined by regular guest Dean Mercado, who knows a thing or two about AI, making it all work, stirring the pot, and cooking it all up. Dean,
You
welcome.
bet. Thanks for having me once again, Jeff. I'm glad to be here with you.
Absolutely. I like this topic. Today is about the three critical skills you put together to do this, to survive and thrive in the age of AI. Tell us what you're thinking and how we can really learn from this topic today and why it's so important.
Absolutely. Jeff, as you remember, a couple of podcasts ago, we talked about the concept of cognitive offloading. And that was a really, really critical topic. And it kind of is the prequel to what we're getting into here today, because what do we do about this cognitive offloading is what it comes down to. So that one was more about what I call danger kind of thing. This one's more about prevention, right? So it's about preventing that danger from becoming your reality, which we don't want. We're hearing a lot of doom and gloom right now about, oh, it's going to take over all the jobs. And yeah, if you allow it, yeah, if you allow yourself to become irrelevant, you get what you're asking for in that instance. So if you don't strengthen the right skills, not just any skills, the right skills, AI is not going to make you better, right? It'll just make your weaknesses faster, louder, more scalable. So if you're an idiot today, you're going to look like a bigger idiot, right? And not that that's the point I want you to understand. I want you to understand AI is an amplifier. Keep that in mind as we talk. I'm a baseball guy. I love baseball. The World Baseball Classic just wrapped up yesterday for me, right? Big shout out to Team Venezuela, who defeated Team USA yesterday. But regardless of the team, the players, right? The players who get the honor of being on that field, representing their country, right? They're not there by accident. They earn that right. These players had the right skills at the right time to be worthy of that moment. Same goes with AI and your use of AI here, folks. The way this game gets played right now is changing very quickly, very rapidly. And yes, mostly because of AI. And if you want to stay sharp and you want to stay relevant, right, you have to strengthen these skills, the ones that are needed to not only survive, but to thrive in this moment right now. For business, we are in that moment right now. It's going to separate the kids from the adults, right, at this point. So a key core principle I want you to remember through this whole conversation today is AI amplifies. It does not absolve. AI amplifies. It does not absolve. So today I'm going to bring you into these three critical skills that you'll need to not only survive, but thrive in this age of AI, as we're calling it, right? So first skill. On the surface, we call it prompt engineering. This first one matters because in the age of AI here, AI is exposing just how imprecise we've become. We've trained ourselves in slang, shorthand, right? Speed, half sentences, lazy instructions, and it goes on and on and on. And then we act surprised when AI gives us something shallow, generic, or off target back. What did you expect, folks? And you don't have to look any further than if you have teenagers like I do, right? Teenagers, You can see it when they're texting, right? They text, they use the slang, the shorthand, they use all this stuff. And then you get the feedback from your kids that, oh, so-and-so is pissed at me for this and that, whatever. And why? Because they didn't communicate the context of what they were saying. Many times, and texting has really done a disservice to us in that way, where people just assume that the person on the other end understands the context of what you're texting. And if they don't, it can easily be misconstrued and cause conflict, right? Well, the people on the other end of the text can't read minds, right? And neither can AI, folks. So remember, AI can't read your mind. If you don't give it proper context, right? You get what you get. Don't get upset, as the teachers used to say to my kids when they were young, right? But this is bigger than AI, folks. This is about communication, period. And I use the word precision communication. Precision communication is what matters. So even whether you're talking to AI, whether you're talking to another human, whether you're interacting within the systems at your business, it's all about the precision in your words, right? The precision in how you're structuring your sentences. That's what really matters. That means asking better questions, framing clearer instructions, giving useful context, defining what good looks like in the first place, right? It's refining through iteration instead of just settling for the first draft junk that you get back. You know, the key, again, is about being precise with your words. If you know exactly what you want and you ask better questions, you'll likely have a better shot at getting what it is you want. If you don't know what you want and you ask bad questions, what do you think is going to happen, right? So learning how to prompt and interact with AI is mission critical. It is a skill. It is a learnable skill. It is the number one skill I have on this list today for a reason, because most people don't know how to communicate. Jeff, a long time back, probably well over almost a year, maybe even over a year, we did one on a master prompt formula. You know, my core formula has evolved since that point, and maybe that's a conversation for another day as well, what it looks like today, because AI is not the same AI that we had a year ago. It's evolving at a pace that's astronomically beyond what we can believe, right? Decades of our learning, it does in seconds. Think about that. Put that in perspective for yourself. So prompt engineering is like precision communication under pressure, right? Let's move into the second one here, Jeff. We got critical thinking. Critical thinking. This is a big bugaboo for me, from the standpoint of AI can often sound smart. It doesn't mean it is. Remember, AI is learning from every person out there right now. Anyone who interacts with AI, it's learning from. It doesn't mean it's right. Right. So, if I'm a little bit, not with it all, and I'm going crazy there, putting bad business advice out in the world, not a good thing for the rest of you who are depending on AI to give you back things that AI doesn't know that distinction. Is it accurate, correct, or not? It does its best, but it's not quite there yet. So we weren't taught critical thinking, in my opinion, very well in our lifetimes. This is where I believe the public schools have failed. The colleges have failed, my opinion, folks, in a big way. If you're an educator and you're hearing this, it is what it is. I felt so strongly about the need for critical thinking that years back, I pulled my kids out of public schools because I felt like they weren't getting what they needed to be able to step into this world and be effective. So I pulled them out and I taught them critical thinking. I made it a point to teach that. And it made a huge difference in my kids. My kids are still teenagers, but they're older teenagers now. And you see the difference in how they behave. Now, that's not me bragging about my kids. That's me pointing out a reality, how important critical thinking is in everything we do. You've heard many people talk about the lack of common sense going on these days. I agree with it. There is a major lack of common sense going on. And AI is just going to make us lazier, right? So this goes deeper, though, Jeff. This is the bigger game here is not even just critical thinking, it's discernment. Discernment. And I didn't lead with that word because most people were like, discernment? What the heck does he mean by discernment? This is where it gets real, though. We all know a little something about something. We're all experts in something, whether it's you're an expert at drinking coffee, right? Like I am. I consider myself somewhat knowledgeable around coffee, right? Maybe it's wine, maybe it's cigars, maybe it's music, maybe it's baseball, maybe it's parenting. Whatever it is, there's something that you feel you know more than the average person on that, right? You might know the difference between average and excellence, between mediocrity and greatness, right? Because you've developed a taste for it. That's discernment. If you're working with AI and you don't know the difference between mediocrity and greatness, you're in trouble. You're in trouble. If you don't know what you want, that's the reason you're not getting what you want in life. I've been coaching for over 2 decades, folks. The hardest question that I always ask my clients is, what do you want? And you'd be surprised how many smart, high 6, 7, 8-figure business owners can't answer that question. They don't know what they want. They dance. They get nervous. They start sweating. They don't know what they want. And then they're wondering why they're not getting it. Well, what do you want? And maybe we can help you get it. Same goes with AI. AI loves pleasing you. If it can give you exactly what you want, it would love to do that. But if you're not asking properly, it'll give you what it thinks. It starts guessing, right? So discernment of knowing good and great, good versus great, is very, very important. And your critical thinking skill that you're using, that muscle, very important to getting proper discernment. Lastly, third big skill that this one may sound a little abstract, but this is one that you have to get where we're going these days. I call it AI orchestration. And I want you to think of a conductor in front of a symphony. That conductor needs to be you. You have to orchestrate how AI is being leveraged inside your company. Somebody has to be thinking bigger. It's not just about the tools. I'm hearing so many of you talking about, do you use ChatGPT or do you use Gemini? Is Claude better or is this one better? I'll tell you this, folks. Every day, one of them's way better than the other for certain things. One day, Gemini completely sucks at something it was great at yesterday. And then I switched to ChatGPT for a day or two. And then all of a sudden, it starts getting horrible. And then I go back to Gemini, and Gemini made a leap because they're updating their tools so rapidly. You can't depend on a tool. You got to depend on your own skills and your ability to use that discernment to say, well, Gemini's not getting it done. Let me go to Claude. Oh, Claude's not getting it done. Let me try Grok. Oh, it's not Grok. Maybe ChatGPT will get it, right? They're just tools, folks. Your discernment and your ability to orchestrate what's going on in your business. That's the key. Now, my real word that I use for it is not AI orchestration because it's bigger than that. I call it systems orchestration. Everything in your business is either a system or a project. A system or a project. A system is something that gets done over and over and over. A project is something that's finite. You do it once, you're done. So your ability to orchestrate those within your business, mission critical. So again, you don't have to play every instrument. Like me, I'm a drummer. I played drums for over 40 years. But the most satisfaction I got when it came to being involved in music was orchestrating a song, writing a song, co-writing a song, orchestrating what that song is going to be like, right? And then seeing people enjoy that song when it's made public. What a feeling. That's what it means to orchestrate. So when your business gets that 5-star review, you know what we're talking about here, folks. So in essence, Jeff, those are the three. Now, I want to just give a little bit of framing for my cleaning and restoration friends out there. This doesn't mean every technician in your company needs to be an AI expert. It's not what we're talking about here. But these human skills, they do need to learn these, and they need to get better at these. And the faster they get better at them, the better everything gets in your company. If you don't consciously look to improve these skills, that's when you start becoming irrelevant. And I hate to be the one to tell you that. These are all the people running scared saying, oh, we're going to all lose our jobs. Well, you will if you don't build your human skills, right? Now, your office teams will likely use AI more than your field technicians. That's a certainty, right? So maybe your field technicians don't need this as deeply when it comes to the AI spin on it as your office team does, and you do if you're the owner, right? You've got to set the tone, though. You've got to set the expectation of what's acceptable to you and what's not. You need your team growing with their feet moving forward all the time, not left back behind with what was working 3, 4, 5 years ago. Things are changing, folks. They're changing rapidly. And unfortunately, in closing, Jeff, people are they're just getting drunk on convenience right now. And there's no nice way of saying it. They're mistaking output for thinking. They're just selling themselves short for that convenience part, right? They're overestimating also what AI means and what using it means, right? And underestimating the humanity part of it that we bring to the equation. AI would be nothing without the humanity part. Everything is starting to go like this, folks. It's all coming to mediocrity in the middle. Those of you who are outliers, the ones willing to push, you're going to be the one who gets noticed. Your brand will get noticed. You'll be the one getting hired. You'll be the one winning that contract. That's the way it works. Because I've written thousands of proposals towards contracts in my life, right? I've even helped businesses write their contracts. So I know a little bit about that. And I can tell you that if you don't up your game and you don't improve these skills, your chances at that are going to be a lot harder. And also, many of these companies doing the choosing who they're going to hire, they choose the best, most responsible, most cost-conscious choice. So if there's 3 companies that are all in the same vicinity, but this one's slightly cheaper, but this one's got it nailed, and it's only a couple of dollars more, they'll probably go with the one who has it nailed. Keep that in mind. I know some of you are going to disagree with me. Whatever. I'm just telling you what I've seen. You use your discernment to make the best choice for your company. So I'll leave you with this thought, Jeff. AI amplifies, right? It does not absolve. It's not going to absolve you from your responsibility. AI amplifies. It does not absolve. On that note, I'll pass it back.
So some sobering, deep thoughts there. You think about what you just shared. It's good stuff, Dean. Really, you said that if we don't embrace AI, we could see our businesses die.
Yeah, you
That's
can. And it's not even just the embracing AI. It's keeping the humanity angle
so
ingrained in there.
so
That's going to make
embracing
it really.
so embracing AI, doing everything AI like overnight may feel like you're doing something, but really you're hurting yourself. It's
Yeah.
the blending of the human aspect with the tools.
Yeah. If you think brand, and I ran a
Mhm.
marketing agency for decades, if you think about brand, the stronger your brand, the better you tend to do,
Mhm.
whether it's show up in searches or whatever. People
Yeah.
think about you differently. It's the way it goes, you know?
I've had conversations, Dean, with others, some business owners, some not business owners, just industry professionals, and there's like a mix of excitement and fear around AI. I think it's interesting the different ways of looking at it. Some are like they love it, they use it. Others are they don't like it, they're afraid. They think the future is all it's going to be ruined. For those who maybe aren't sure how they feel, or maybe they're leaning towards that second description that they're afraid of it, what mindset shift could you encourage them to look at? What would you tell them over a cup of coffee? I know you feel this way. I know you're afraid, but maybe you can think it this way. Can you share some thoughts there?
Absolutely. Um, my first angle to that, Jeff, would be if you don't allow the overwhelm and you think about it from a realistic standpoint and you lead with humanity first, you'll stand a better chance of winning in this game. So, humanity side of it, that should come easy to all of you. You've all been in that vein, in that framework, your entire existence. Just because there's a new fancy tool on the block doesn't mean you have to change the kind of person you are, right? You just want to use AI as an amplifier, not as a replacement. So if you look at it that way, and every time you're thinking you're doing something in your business, and you would ask yourself, can AI help me amplify the way I want this done? Not, can AI do this better than me? Right? But if this is the way you want it done, can AI help you amplify? And if you approach it from that angle, it's not as overwhelming and it's not as scary because you know it's you being amplified. This is the premise of my clone the owner methodology, where we extract your genius. And that's what we use the AI and the automation and fancy tools to amplify you. Now, if you're terrible and you're not worth amplifying, that would be a conversation as a coach I would have with you. That maybe we got to think about what we're doing here. I don't think that's the case, though. I think most of you listening are pretty tuned in to your businesses. You know what works. You know what doesn't work. Stay true to yourself. Don't think because Susie down the block is doing it that you have to do what she's doing. No. What's going to happen to some of these Susies, right? They're going to start realizing that the automations they did and the junk they put out there is actually damaging them. It's damaging their brand. And then when Susie gets called on and the machine gets shut off, and all of a sudden Susie has to remember how to do something, she won't remember, right? Because she will have lost that connection to how to do it right. Don't lose the humanity. And I'm a big AI fan, folks, but don't lose your humanity. I'm a bigger humanity fan than I am an AI fan. So everything you approach human first. And you look at it from that angle. Can it amplify what I want? If you need something improved, yeah, you can absolutely ask it to help you improve something, definitely. But at the end of the day, if you don't own that improvement, it's not going to help you. And you won't be able to remember like Susie won't, because you're letting the AI just control things now. That's not what we're talking about. Don't ever let it go like that. You always have to have controls in place that make sure you're keeping the you in the business, right? Otherwise, what's the difference between your restoration company and that restoration company? There won't be any. Therefore, you'll compete on the one element that drives us crazy is price. There'll always be somebody who'll undercut you in price. Always. Right? And you should know that. You probably do. I'm like preaching to the choir, I guess, there. But, you know, that's what I would say, Jeff. If people would just relax for a minute, this isn't a race. It is about doing it strategically. Work with somebody who knows how to execute strategically. That's really important. Going it alone, sure, you could do that, but it'll take you longer. You'll make a lot more mistakes. And sometimes those mistakes are expensive. So pay attention to conversations like Jeff, you and I are having here today. These are important. You know, it's not just about, oh, what's the new fancy thing they added to ChatGPT? Well, great. Who
I see it every
cares?
day, every day.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And who cares? These are the junkies. Don't be a junkie. Be a realist. You've got a business to run. You've got payroll to meet. You've got clients to serve. They need you, right? That's more important. And I'm an AI fan, but that's the
So,
reality. That's Coach Dean talking there.
Coach Dean, embrace AI, but keep it human at the same time.
Bingo.
All right. Well, Dean, thank you for this. I'll see you on the next one.